microphone, but that'll go on, right? So, hi, I'm Mollie Amburgey. I am here. I just wanted to give it up for my openers. Same different. How amazing were they? I've been very, very blessed in my life. I have really, really wonderful, amazing people. So I'm going to put this down here for a second. So, I do have to say though, even though I've been very blessed, like what the fuck is going on in our world, guys? Like, we've had the Las Vegas shooting. We've had, tonight here, we're here for Puerto Rico to fund all of that. So thank you so much for being here. This goes to a good cause. That's why I wanted to do this. As an artist, I wanted to make sure I paid it forward. There's just a lot of shit going on. So I wanted to really kind of highlight good things that are happening in life. So I'm going to give it up to our dancer over here. Hi, what's your name?
I'm Arkila.
Hi, nice to meet you. I love meeting new people. This is fun. So I want you to tell me something good that's happened to you.
Today, I had dinner. I made s'mores with my nephews.
Oh! How many nephews do you have? I talk about my nephew later in the show, but
I have 3 nephews, 16,
okay.
4, almost 5, and 1 he almost is. I'm almost 5. And then a 1 year.
Oh, well, see, that's amazing. Just the small things in life like that. You made s'mores for a nephew. Give her a round of applause for making s'mores for her nephew. All right. I'm going to give this lovely couple a chance to introduce themselves over here. So I saw you clapping along. You look like a lot of fun. What's your name? Rose. Rose, tell me something good that happened to you today. Or whenever you want.
Hey, I'm just happy to be here.
Oh, that's great. Guys, give a round of applause for Rose. She's just happy to be here. That's great. Okay, so Rose, I'm going to balance this out by telling you something terrible that happened to me. Because I feel that that's exactly how life goes. Is that you're kind of on this road, you're like, all these great things are happening to me. And I'm like, oh, fuck, this happened to me. So I went to this really cute place. It's called Revive Thrift. If you haven't been, go. It's in our neighborhood here. I took my roommate, Bestie Gabby. Hey, oh, look at that cute little small town girl from Dexter. You know, hand pump. But yeah, so I took her to Revive Thrift and I was so excited because I bought this really cute shirt and it was only like maybe $7 and I needed all black clothes for work. So I was like, well, I'm not gonna buy work clothes that are super expensive and like break the budget when I can like save up for Spain, which I'm not going to anytime soon. But I was like, I'm gonna get this shirt and like, this is great. And so, you know, like you're at home and you have this new shirt on, you're feeling so good about yourself. It's like a Sunday night, you're cleaning out your closet, you're getting everything together. You're like, look at me, like I finally have my shit together for once. Famous last words, or when you say to yourself, I've got this, because you never have it, right? Like you just never do. So you're like, I've got this, like this is so great. And I'm watching Nikki and Brie Bella because they're my favorite people ever. I love them at WWE. Yes, oh I love that there was just a like applause for that. That's great. So I'm like, oh I'm so inspired because I have these strong women that are in the background. And I was like, you know, and my favorite color is red, that's my power color. So I was like, you know, I'm gonna make some tea in my cute little red kettle. So I have it on my gas stove and I have my music playing too. So I don't know why I had music playing and then I was also watching TV, but that's besides the point. So I'm in the kitchen, I've got the red kettle going, I've got my tea and I'm like, look at me being so healthy. I'm like drinking organic tea, like go me, like this is so great. So as I'm leaning over, I'm like, oh, look at me pouring my organic tea, like this is wonderful. And then all of a sudden I feel something burning on my side. And I was like, oh, it's probably, I mean, we live in an older apartment. This is a gas stove. I live in Shaw neighborhood. It has to be that. But then I realized, oh, burning is not the stove. It's me. And I look over and my brand new shirt that I bought at Revive Thrift is in the stove. It's lit as fuck. Like literally, like it is like the lit, like all these little girls are like hashtag lit. I'm like hashtag lit. And I'm just like here. And then I shit you not. I have, you know, I have my music on and I hear, she's just a girl and she's on fire. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like what the fuck? And I like throw off my shirt immediately. I have my sports bra on. I hear like Nikki Bella going, John Cena is going to propose to me. And I'm like, girl, I know, you're hot. So I like throw off this, and I'm hot for all the wrong reasons. So I like throw myself on the shirt on the floor. And I don't know why, like, you know, you would think that like in this situation, like I'd be freaking out, but it's always like when these like emergency situations happen, I'm completely 110% calm. It's only when people are being rude that I get upset. So I have Alicia Keys like serenading my life. She's just a girl and she's on fire. And I'm like, yes! And I like slam it down and I'm like, no one's home, it's me, I could have died. I'm like, looking at my body, I'm like, oh. I don't have any third-degree burns. I'm good. Nikki Bella got proposed to in front of other people. This is great. I'm so happy. Like, go John Cena. And I'm like, you know, I think this is just like a metaphor for my life. That like, there's flames, shit is just happening around me, and I'm like, here I am, just still standing. Like, this is great. And I feel like that goes for everybody. So don't worry. Like, as much shit that is going on, like, trust me, if you're still sitting here tonight at the Monocle, you're doing good. You made it here tonight, you're still standing good for you. I love it, Annie. Look at me, I'm here. I paid my $15, it's fine. I also worked out at 4 a.m., don't worry about it. But like, so, I think it goes back, she's like, I think it goes back to like my upbringing in Ohio, because I know a lot of people maybe here don't know me, but for those that do, I mean, I know in the ordinary, you know, it's like I grew up with 2 very loving parents. I had a dog. Like, this really isn't anything like too crazy that happened in my life. That being said, I still had a very eccentric background in the sense that my parents are both previously married before they married each other. So I have all of these half siblings, and then I'm the sibling that they had later in life. So imagine my brother and his wife being pregnant, and then my mom's like, oh, I'm pregnant, I have a baby too. So one of my nieces is legit the same age as me. Oh. So literally all the time, people are like, are you guys sisters? And I'm like, yeah, I'm not. And she goes, oh, this is my aunt. And people look at me like, you're an aunt? And I'm like, a hot aunt, thank you. I'm like, sorry, I was like, I think people just imagine like, oh, this aunt, like she's just old biddy. And I'm like, please, like, you have no idea. My nephew is 1, I adore him, he's fantastic. We'll get into that in a few like minutes or so, probably the next hour, but it's fine. But it's always so funny when I tell people I'm from Ohio, because immediately people are, you know when you watch movies and like, there's like this girl, she's like, oh, I was a stripper, and then I came back to Ohio, and then I got her, you know? And it's just like, or you know, everybody in their song is like Carrie Underwood is like, oh, she was driving home to Cincinnati at a snow white Christmas Eve, and then she got in a fucking car accident. Like, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I'm like, I understand. Sometimes, I mean, I will say in the Midwest, I mean, in St. Louis too, people just want to run you over. Don't worry, in Cincinnati, we just have a smaller population. It's basically the same way. If you want to cross the street, I'm like, there better be a median, because I'm not waiting for you. Like, you better get over. I got things to do. I got work. And I love how pedestrians are like, I just have the right of way. Like, you can't hit me. And I'm like, file a lawsuit. I don't care. Because if I'm late to work, I can't pay anything. So, you know, so it's always so funny to me. And then my parents, I think, also. So my mom, to give you an idea, she's from Queens. She's Italian. She denies it because she doesn't like garlic. So apparently that doesn't make her Italian. She is. Nice. She's definitely a worrier. Like, I'll call her and like, I'm upset and like, I need comfort. But of course my mom is like, well, no, I'm worried because I don't know if you have enough stuff. Like, do you have Band-Aids? Do you have a first aid kit? I'm like, Mom, I'm going to work. I'm not going to war. Like, you know, I don't need like all this worry. Like, I need somebody to be strong for me for a second. Like, could you do that? She goes, well, I gave birth to you and I'm the one who loves you unconditionally, not these men that are out there. But yet she wants me to meet somebody and have children. And I'm like, I don't know what to, I can't please you, you know. But like, the big thing that I remember growing up is that, you know, my mom would like try to make breakfast for me for school, and she gets so mad at me because she's like, you know, I was a good mother. Like, I don't know why you keep bringing up all these embarrassing stories about me. I'm like, Mom, it's not that you weren't a good mom. Like, your intentions were good, just the outcome always wasn't the best. So, like, you know, so I would get up in the morning, you know, you put on, I went to private school, surprise, and I would have my jumper on, and my mom all the time, she would burn the toast because she was doing so much, and you would hear like she tries to pretend that she's like, oh, I'm Midwestern, I'm from Cincinnati, but really like she's from New York, Queens, like we can't hide these things. And so she was like, you would hear the toast burn, and immediately like, you could never sleep in my house because the alarm would go off at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and I would hear, shit, you just want to be aggravated, just have my life. And I would hear like the front door open because we lived in a very like when people are like, oh, I'm middle class, like I was legit middle class, guys. Like, it doesn't even get more middle class than like how I'm living right now. And it was just like, you would have the door, and then you had the little hallway, and then the kitchen table was here. and I would smell the toast burning. I'm like, oh, my mom like burned the toast. And so the door would open, but when you sat at the table, you would feel like it would be below 0 degrees outside. So you would have to eat breakfast while the door was still open. So eventually I would be like, Mom, it's cold. She's like, I can't help it. Like, I'm doing so many things at once. Like, you should be doing what I'm doing. So I'm like, all right. So eventually you learn after being lectured for a while not to say anything. So you just go over to the parka that's on the chair that you were gonna wear to school, and then you put the parka on, then she feels terrible, of course. She's just like, oh, were you cold? Like, you should have just told me to close the door. And I'm like, Mom, like, this is insane to me. It's just like, I don't understand, like, I can't ever, like, please her in that regard. And, like, she loves me so much, but we're never on the same page about things. It's like, there was one time I was at home, and I was at home for Thanksgiving, and my friend Dana and I were gonna go get a drink. And we took a shot of whiskey beforehand. My mom's like, oh, don't drink too much. You don't want to get too drunk. And then like 5 seconds later, it is a little cold outside. Maybe you should take a few shots because that would like keep you warm. All this kind of stuff. And my dad is just as bad. My dad, he was a football star, basically. He went to University of Cincinnati. He used football to pay for his education. And my mom was a beauty queen. So you can see where I got all my genetics from. But so basically, it's just so funny. But at the same time, they're very down-to-earth people. Like their Friday night, like they pretend they're not social, but they're like, oh, we went out with the neighbors, and then we walked the dog, and we just kind of hung out. Like they're very, very humble in that regard, but they still socialize. So one time I think that, one of their friends invited them to some kind of event or party at their house. And my dad was like, I do not fit in with these people. Like, this is like, I'm just a country guy from Cincinnati. Like, these people are very stuffy. So everybody's talking about how they met their partner and like all these fancy stories. So it gets to my dad. And my dad, everybody's like, Bob, how did you meet Trisha? I would like to preface that my parents met each other at church, and then once they met each other, they never went back to church. It's like, when you go through a bad time, and you're like, oh, let me join like this church group, and like all of this, and then they met each other, and they're like, oh, just kidding, like, bye, like it's fine. So my dad like tells her, like, where did you meet her? And she goes, oh, I was at a party once, and she popped out of a cake. So, I was like, so of course all the men are like, yeah, that's right, she did pop out of a cake. And my mom's like so embarrassed, like, do you even think that I would be that type of person that would pop out of a cake? Are you kidding me? And to this day, she goes, I still can't believe you said that, Bob. Like, But the thing that I remember the most when I was little, so, you kind of, you have one in every family. I have a half brother from my mom's side, and he kind of gave us a lot of trouble growing up. And my sister and I kind of went through a lot with him. So, at one point he was living with us, and my mom was, it's her son, so she's really trying to change things and do things and be a good parent, and you don't necessarily agree with it, but it's your mom and she's the patriarch of the house, so you go along with it. So my mom was letting him drive the silver Camry that we used to have. And so, used to have, gets better. So my brother's hanging out with the wrong people, right? And, like my mom comes off as this very conservative woman, but again, she's from Queens, so she's technically really a gangster. She just won't let anybody know it. So, until now. And I asked her for permission. I was like, Mom, just so you know, like, I'm thinking about telling this story. She goes, oh, it's some of my best work. Like, please, like, tell me. So, I think at like 70, she does not care anymore. And she's like, don't tell anybody my age. I'm like, Mom, you've had 90210, like, without being, in LA, you're good. So, my brother's hanging out with the wrong people. And I remember I'm sitting and I'm eating at the dinner table, not with the door open because it was sunny outside and the toast wasn't burned that day because it was summer, we were safe. So we're sitting there at the table, and my brother's hanging out with the wrong people, and we get this call, and basically I just hear my mom go, what? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, do you know how much I paid for that? And I'm like, oh God, like here we go. Like it obviously has to do something with Tom. My mom like gets off the phone. She's like, look, like Tom, he's hanging out with the wrong people. These people stole the car. And my mom goes, and I'll be damned. Like, I'm gonna get it back. And my dad is just like, look, it's a lost cause. Like my dad, he's again, a little country guy from Cincinnati. He's like, it's a lost cause. Like you're not gonna. She's like, watch me. Like I'm gonna get this shit back. And she like goes back in the day. She's got like little flip phones, right? She opens up her little flip phone. She's like, Tom, like I need all these numbers. I don't know how my mom did this, but somehow she got the number to the person who stole the car. And like, I'm like, okay, Mom, like, you're crazy, but it's like kind of intriguing. I'm interested. And so my dad's just like sitting there, like, you know, jaw down, like, you don't know what's happening. And so my mom is like, "Hi, is this Big Baby?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, Big Baby." Like literally my mom's like, "Hello, Big Baby. This is Patricia Amburgey. I'm Tom's mom." So first of all, I could not get over the fact that somebody named Big Baby stole like our vehicle and like literally just was like casually Big Baby, but whatever. Like, no shame, I'm interested. So she's just like, so she goes, "You know, I know you have the car. I know that like, you know, maybe you're going through some hard times, but," and then I see her like get into like this acting mode. Like she's always like, "Oh, I know you're in theater. You got it from me." And I used to always deny it, but now after the story, I'm like, all right, I'll accept it a little bit. She goes, "Oh, this evil white man that I'm married to, he's the worst, and he's taking all my money and my rent check and all this." She goes, "Oh, you know, I have an evil man too. They're terrible. They're all awful, all races, all sizes. These men are crazy." And you hear Big Baby, and my mom goes, "Oh, you know, she understands life. I like her." I'm like, "Mom, she stole our car." She's like, "No, like, we're having a moment of compassion right now." Like, my mom became like best friends with Big Baby, and she's like, "Look, Big Baby, meet me in the parking lot of this bowling alley up the street. I'm gonna be there with the $200 check, and I'm gonna help you." And you hear Big Baby go, "Oh, thank you. We're gonna get you away from this evil white man," and like all this stuff. I'm like, oh my God. So my mom goes downstairs and she grabs this empty suitcase with like nothing in it. She puts like a few things in, and she's like, "All right, I'm gonna go meet Big Baby." And she walks up the street to the bowling alley next to the McDonald's, and she's like, my dad's like, "What is going on?" She's like calling us up, and she's like, "Big Baby isn't here yet." And I'm like, "She is coming, like, don't worry about it." Finally, Big Baby shows up, and she's just like, "You need to tell Thomas, my brother, who's a shit, that, you know, he has a good mother, like, he's great. You know, Trisha, like, that is a Christian name. Like, this is fantastic." And my mom's like, "Big Baby is a Christian name. Here is your check." And I'm like, "What are you guys talking about?" And my mom said, basically, this woman was so sweet. Well, Big Baby was actually kind of nice to my mom, even though she stole our car. And takes it to the bank. She like, you know, my mom's finally home with the car. It smells of like marijuana, cigarettes. Like, there was definitely some partying in the car, like, versus me at 9 years old. I was not doing any of that. So the bank calls us and they're like, "Trisha, what are you doing giving out like $200 to people?" And my mom goes, "Look, just give it to them." And the best part was on this woman's bank account. I don't remember her last name, but she literally put on her bank account, Big Baby. Like, that's exactly what she went by. She wasn't like ashamed, nothing. And so, but we got the car back. But fast forward to when I was in high school, you know, you have to learn how to drive. So my mom was letting me drive the car. So of course I take it to the soccer game because like there's boys there and I want to look cool, right? And then afterwards in my neighborhood, my friend Luke was like, "Oh, you know, I'm having a party, you girls should come." And of course my neighbor and I are like, "Absolutely," because you know, you're like in high school, you're 17, you want to like find somebody to go out with. And I don't know how it works for you guys. I'm terrible at parallel parking. So of course I turned to my ginger redhead of a neighbor and I was like, "Hey, do you mind parking the car for me?" She goes, "Oh girl, I've got this." Remember, famous last words. So she gets in front of the car, she has her hand on the wheel, we're all standing watching it happen, we're waiting, we're gonna go party with like our new boyfriends that we're supposed to get that night. And sure enough, she slams on the gas but puts it in reverse in the wrong direction. So the car goes directly into a telephone pole. I'm crying. This girl has a big bruise on her head. My friend Michael comes running out. He's calling my mom. My mom's screaming. And so I come home and I'm like waiting. I'm like, oh my God, like I'm gonna get so reamed. Like the car is totaled. Like I'm gonna be grounded for weeks. Like all this stuff. I go upstairs. My mom's sitting on the bed. She goes, "My best work. Like, did you know what I had to go through with Big Baby just to get the car?" Like, she goes, "And you went and did that?" Like, she wasn't even upset with me. She just goes, "I just went through so much." You know? So I think that's kind of like where I get it from, is that I have these parents who are very, very eccentric. So, you know, then you go into that. Eventually, as I grew up, I moved to St. Louis, and I gotta say, guys, not that I'm like old, But at 27, like, times have definitely changed for me. Like, I remember at 19, I used to have so much energy, and that's when I first moved to St. Louis, and I used to go to this place called the Clubhouse. I don't know if you remember it. It was legit, like, up here on Grand. It was a house. It was somebody's house that they turned into a bar. And you know, at 19, you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get on the club scene. And you know, you're like ready to like live it up. And I remember I took all my friends and I was like, guys, I want to celebrate my 19th birthday. So I remember like riding in Gabby's SUV and like Julia's behind us in the Mini Cooper that is non-existent anymore, so Julia. So we're there, and it's like one of the sketchiest places. Like if you ever watched Bar Rescue, John Tapper would have ripped this place. Like this place was sketchy as hell. Like imagine if you like had your house and you were just like running a bar out of your house. That's basically what these people were doing. There was a patio. There's a third floor. You don't know what happened on the third floor, but something was happening. But so this was happening there. So I'll never forget, we would go in, you would pay like $5 just to drink up front. Like people would just give you unlimited drinks for $5. You had this big like black X on your hand that you couldn't scrub off. And I just remember like I would think, I had this sequin dress I used to go out in. And my friend Julia, who's here tonight, hi Julia. She was always kind of my voice of reason. And even though she would be there with me during those times, she would always kind of be like, what the fuck are we doing? But like, I don't understand. So I remember like I would reminisce with her like when we would get like, you know, drinks or something like, because now we're adults, so we like sit at the bar, we're not paying $5 with, you know, X's on our hands. And I'd be like, Julia, remember that one time on my 19th birthday when we all went to the Clubhouse before it closed? And she goes, oh, you mean before it shut down? Yeah. So you know, you always have to have those friends of reason. And then I remember like my sophomore year of college, we went to Club 15, which I looked up. It's not Club 15 anymore, it's like Jeffrey's. I love that like these places that used to be like real hole in the walls, they start calling themselves like fancy names, like guys that you should never associate yourself with, like Jeffrey or Felipe or, you know, Somale. I don't know who these people are, but they sound fancy enough. They're like, oh, we're a wedding venue. I'm like, you used to be a trash venue? And I know because I used to get trashed there. It's like that slutty girl that's like, I'm not slutty, but like she is. So, you know, it's kind of like one of those things. So, you know, you look there, and I'll never forget my friend Rebecca at the time. She's like, let's all go out. And of course, like, you're like, oh yeah, that's because you watch these movies, and you're like, I'm gonna go out and like be crazy. And I'll never forget this guy who was like 50 and in a Mustang picked us up. And because we're idiots, we like went in the car. We're like, yeah. And he's like, oh girls, like I had my ID on me, but my friend Ricky, who's now studying to be a brain surgeon, by the way, she was like, I don't have my ID. I left my ID. And he goes, oh, don't worry. Like out of a fucking like Ocean's 11 movie. Let me help you out. And he opens up the top of his car and all these IDs just like fly out. And I was like, what is this, 007? Like, what am I in? And then he couldn't get us in, by the way. I had to get us in. Because I was like, hi, I'm a girl, I'm cute, I've got my sequin dress on, let us in. Nobody needed an ID. The thing is though, at the end of the night, because again, I have morals and a value system, I'm at the bathroom, and this guy comes up to me and he's like, hey, you wanna have sex in here? I'm sorry, what? Like, I was like ready to have his dick come out in the office, like what's apparently happening lately in our news. But like, basically, he's just like, okay, like if not in here, like what about there? And I'm like, let me rephrase this for you. I'm never having sex with you in the bathroom, on the dance floor, ever. And he's like, oh, damn. At least I tried though. And he like walks away. And I'm just laughing because I'm just like, you know, what even, like again, Jeffrey's wedding venue, that's what it used to be. So I'm just kind of like laughing about that. And Ricky used to be like, I don't understand why you haven't been murdered yet. Like you legit just like, they say all these sassy comments. And of course at 20 you're like, whatever, like I don't care. I remember having to call Gabby because I was like, hi, we don't have a ride home. Can you come pick us up? And she like, cute little like small town girl from Dexter is like, oh absolutely. And she comes in her little black like SUV, and it's like literally like, as you can see, she's like this white blonde like cute little individual, and she comes in this big black SUV like the cartel. And so like she throws us in and like kind of put me to bed. I was like, thanks Gabby, and I told her what happened. She's like, you need to stay away from these people. Like I don't know what you're doing. And I was like, I don't know, man, like these things just happen. But today, I feel like all my badass capabilities are gone. Like I feel like now I'm like, oh my God, I bought this Maplewood end table with a glass top for only $30. What? Things have just changed now. And like my sequin dress that I used to wear, literally, the last time I saw it, I was in the hospital with the blood clot. And you would think that my voice of reason, Julia, would like come in with like a little like care package or something like that. She goes, no, she goes, so here's your laptop in case you need to do some work. Like, here's some books. She goes, and here's a sequin dress in case you need a doctor in the hospital. I'm like, voice of reason, voice of fucking reason. Thank you. But speaking of computers, it kind of leads into technology. Guys, I understand that I'm quote unquote a millennial. I'm so bad at technology. I'm gonna be honest, I used to like love my cassettes. I had this boombox that was multicolored, that had a microphone. I used to put on shows, like my parents were like, you need to go to bed. I was like, excuse me, one more track of The Lion King, please, before I go to bed. And like it'd be 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm like, no one said do this. No one said be there. No one said stop that, but my mom just did. Nobody see me. That was like what I wanted to do. I loved it. I loved singing to my little cassette tape. And it's crazy when you're younger, you're so shameless, you know what I mean? Like you're so innocent. Like you sing in front of everybody and you don't give a shit if you sound bad. You're like, the colors of the wind, I'm Native American. It doesn't matter to anybody. You're like, yeah. And now today, everybody's so shameful. And I was watching World of Dance, and this very cute little girl was dancing, and she had this beautiful technique. And Jennifer Lopez said it best. She was like, we all have to remember that there's that 11-year-old girl inside of us. And I was like, this is what really inspired me for this next bit. When I was younger, I will say I had a very supportive neighborhood. And again, shameless Molly, I had this outfit with this cute little cowgirl fringe on it. And I was like, I'm gonna perform a dance for my neighborhood, and we had this shed in the backyard, and I love that my parents were so cool with this, by the way. I would take all these chairs and I put our little plastic chairs we had outside for our backyard, and I would put them out on the driveway, and then in my little cowgirl outfit with fringe, I was knock on doors, be like, hi, I'm gonna put on a show. It is a preview for the talent show that's gonna be in the basement of Wyoming Baptist Church, so you should come. And I somehow my neighbors all came, and at 11 years old or 9, I don't know, one of those 9 through 11 years, I had this little dance solo to NSYNC's Just Got Paid, because I was working really hard at that age and knew what it was like to get paid on Friday. So I remember I had the boombox, and CDs were just coming out. So you had the boombox with the CD on top, but you still had the cassette in case you still had the cassettes and you wanted to listen to them. So I remember I put those on, I did my dance, and I was so proud of myself. I was like, thank you so much. My performance is gonna be at Wyoming Baptist Church at 8 o'clock, be there. Charities go to the church, thank you. And I had no shame in doing that. I feel like that still lasts today though, but at the same time, people on Instagram now, rest in peace, AOL Instant Messenger. Remember those days? You used to rush home and talk to your crush on instant message, and then you had the away message because you were away to eat dinner. Oh yeah, because you had such big priorities. But now it's Instagram DM. And it's so disgusting to me that people are I'm gonna meet you through Instagram. Some old dude was here, let me message her on this Instagram direct message. And I was ooh. He was just admiring your beauty. And I'm clearly you're not employed, because if you're sitting here admiring me, we have an issue. What is going on? All of these things, and I feel everybody's always shoving their life kind of. I feel I kind of want to use Instagram for more of a promotional aspect, but now we know everything. It's oh, I'm here, taking a shit on the toilet. We didn't need to know that. We didn't need to know that you were in the bathroom, or bathroom selfies where they're looking good, but you see the toilet that's right behind you. I'm again, we didn't need to know that. There's lighting that goes into it. Or my favorite was I saw this girl one time on my Instagram, so that means I actually know her. I'm upset. So she was sitting there, she's oh, just going to bed tonight with Bae, and there's no Bae. Bae is not there. It's the mirror is there, and it's just no Bae. I'm what is happening? I don't understand. So, you know, again with my parents though, my parents still use flip phones. They don't have iPhones. They still have flip phones. So like just to get in touch with them, it's so funny to me because they'll be like, oh, we just got a new phone. I'm like, what did she get? And my mom goes, oh, she got a new like Sprint phone from Sprint. And it's a flip phone. And I'm like, I can't get a hold of you. Like one night, like parent reversal, by the way. So like, again, as you get older, your parents start getting like, they start living life because they know that you're like raised well and everything's good. So I'm like the parent now, right? So I'm trying to get in touch with them and I'm like, where is my mom? Like, where's my mom? And I get this call and she's like, hi, so I'm just at this bar. I'm not drinking anything. I had one sex on the beach. And I'm like, where are you? And she's like, oh, I'm just in the stall, but everybody's drunk with me. You may have to come pick me up. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't understand. Like, it's just crazy to me that like, I'm like, Mom, can't you no, you can't FaceTime me because I can't see you. Like, so I always have to kind of go off by voices and I just kind of like use my imagination, which is fine, like, whatever. I'm just like, whatever, Mom, I'll just be the person that, you know, takes over this part. But I know technology today has just changed for me. Like, also with hashtags and dating, really fucks you up, right? So I was like a virgin. So basically I was a virgin to Bumble because I never used dating apps. I would always be like, because eventually you're like, oh, I want to meet person, like, you know, somebody face to face, but then eventually you keep not meeting somebody face to face. So you're like, well, maybe swiping their face would be better. I don't know. So you go over Bumble and all this stuff, and you hear all these great stories about people that meet somebody on Bumble, and you're like, well, that's inspiring. Ooh, maybe like I will like meet somebody. So the first date I ever went on Bumble, he seemed really nice. He was like, and they try to sell you the whole deal, right? They're like, I have a house, I have a master's degree, I have a this. I work out, wellness and fitness, you know, and I'm just like, oh my God, you're gonna make me work out with you? This is terrifying. So, you know, so I was like, but I'm not gonna like look him up on like social media. I'm gonna be really good. Ladies, you need to look him up on social media. So, you know, I'm like looking him up on social media later on. And because the date went well, and then eventually, you know, I was like, oh, it went well. He seems really nice. Like, and he's like, I'd love to see you again. I was like, great. So then I'm going to Dancing with the Stars with Julia at the Peabody, and I get this text. He's like, hey, I'm coming back from a floating trip that night. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry I can't see you because I'm seeing Dancing with the Stars at the Peabody. And he's just like, oh man, you know, I was really like interested in having birthday sex tonight.
Whoa!
Exactly! I know! And I was like, is it even your birthday? I don't even know you. You know, like, I don't even know who you are. I just had one drink with you for 2 hours and you went to a meeting. Like, I don't understand. And so he was like, well, I just don't like, you know, we'll eventually get there. I was like, yeah, we're never getting anywhere because you're weird. Gabby, he was from St. Genevieve. I gotta go to Dexter instead. Yeah. So, yeah, get there. So, you know, eventually you're kind of curious, right? And you're like, well, now that I know how this whole like game works, let me look him up on Facebook. So I find him on Facebook, and all his hashtags are dollar signs, like patience, dollar sign, making money, dollar signs, like time is money, dollar signs. And I'm like, what are you? You're not Nelly. Like, stop that. Like, only one person can do that. You're not the same. Like, it's just crazy to me. I don't know. It's just like, dating in 2017, I know a lot of comedians talk about this, but it scares me. Like, people are like, why are you single at 27? I'm like, because I'm terrified to meet anybody else. Like, I'm just terrified of the people that you meet online, especially. Like, there's 3 people that I want to stay away from. So the first person is the guy that holds up the fish. Yes. Yes. I don't understand. Like, here's the thing. If you are Luke Bryan and you're hunting and fishing and like loving every day, props to you because you're in your element. But here's the creepy thing about Bumble. If I see that you are 1.2 miles away from me, but you're holding up a fish, don't fucking try to tell me that you just went hunting today in St. Louis, Missouri. It's not gonna work. I don't believe it. Like, that's crazy, especially when it's a bloody fish. I'm like, man warrior, it's gotta go, man. Like, I'm like, wine and dine me. Take me to a movie. Go on a walk with me. Go on a hike with me. Don't bring me a bloody fish. That's what Trader Joe's is for, okay? Like, I don't understand, like, why you have to do that. And like the second one, it's when the guy brings out the other fish and he immediately sends that fish to you. Like I don't understand why that is an issue. And I'm trying to be very polite about this. I don't get it. Like I'm like, no one asked for it. I didn't want it. I feel sorry for your phone because I got it like exposed to that. Like take this fish away and put that fish away. Like no one needs it. Unless that fish has $2 million and tickets to Spain attached to it, I want absolutely nothing to do with it. I don't need a dick. The only D I need is a PhD and dental. I don't get it. I don't understand it at all. And like, it just makes me laugh when it's just like, are these guys that are on Bumble, they're like, I'll get to the third in a second, but I love these guys where you have to like write a description, and I try to be so nice in mine. I was like, I produce plays, I like the blues, I'm just a fun person to be around. I love when their job description is CEO of Party, Sleep, Repeat. And then they wonder why they're single and unbundled. Like, I don't understand, I'm confused. Like, I was like, college is over, baby. It's time for the big guns. Like, come on, like, we're done here. But the third one that I always try to tell people, the guy that's insecure. I get so tired of having my girlfriends date men who are insecure with themselves. If a guy doesn't like himself, trust me, he's not going to respect you. I want to make sure that this is clear to everybody. Like, I don't understand, like, especially when he's like, oh, I don't like myself. I'm like, whose problem is that? Like, because I can't do anything about it. Like, I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm here on stage at the Monocle. I have to pay bills. I gotta go get my groceries. I don't have time for your feelings. Like, I just don't. Like, I'm just like, what are you doing? And they're like upset with themselves, and then they take it out on you. Well, you made me feel this way. I'm like, you just met me 5 minutes ago. I didn't make you feel this way. And we don't have this. And then people insist on dating them. I don't understand it for the life of me, but that's whatever. But it really takes a special person to be with you. And I'm not saying that, like, I do want a partner in life. I do want a family someday. I'm not saying that men are terrible people at all. Just some of them. So, you know, like, but you know, like, you really need a partner in life that understands you. And I feel like that's going to apply to me when I tell him what my guilty pleasure is. And he's like, is it something sexy? And I'm like, no, it's serial shows, baby. Like, I love murder mystery shows. Like, I love Snapped. I love, like, you know when you go on Hulu or Netflix and it's like forensic files? It gets so addicting. You're like, who murdered who? What? It was in Cincinnati? That's my hometown. One time I was watching a Cincinnati show and my mom goes, oh, we knew him. He used to be in our neighborhood. He was murdered. Like, it seriously is like a real thing, y'all. It happens. But I love serial shows. I absolutely love them. What is the one where I'm like, so on Snapped, it's so great because, like, you know, there's always that voiceover and they're like, she was a hard worker, she was getting straight A's, but then she got involved with the wrong person, and then there was a murder in the basement. You know, like, it's just like, it's so dramatic too, and they're like, we found him, he was down there, he was dead. I'm like, of course he was dead, that's why this whole episode is happening, you know. And you have these people, he was always a quiet one, we didn't know what happened, and I think he just... You know, like, it's so freaking amazing. And I love how they try to sugarcoat it. Like, they're like, the pizza was unlimited, the booze was unlimited, the marijuana was unlimited, and then there was murder, and then where was the unexpected house guest? I'm like, is that what they're calling it these days? She was sleeping with him. Like, I love that they're like, it's a house guest, and I love, like, especially these old men that get involved with young women, and then they wonder why they're dead. Like, I'm like, excuse me, like, you cheated on your wife. Like, this is the thing, guys. If you are not sleeping with your student, not sleeping with your professor, not sleeping with your, like, husband's significant other, your wife's significant, you know, one of those things, like, what, not your husband's significant other, that's you. But, like, you know, like, you're not sleeping with somebody else that isn't your husband or your wife, like, you're not going to be dead. But when you start doing that shit and then you're there, everybody wonders, oh, I don't know why, like, my life was in danger. I'm like, because you did a real crapshoot on yourself. Like, you left your wife for a younger woman, and you're like, why am I paying alimony and I'm dead? Like, I don't understand. Like, come on. Like, of course you're dead. Did you think she actually wanted you for you? Like, she wanted you for your money. And I love how, like, the relatives get so upset. They're like, oh, like, she didn't have to murder him. I'm like, look, bitch, he had what he was coming, okay? Like, this is ridiculous to me. Like, I'll never forget or it's like this crazy girl, and it's always over a guy. I'm like, please, the guy is not worth it. Like, I love that this girl is like, I love how these shows try to like sugarcoat it. They're like, oh, she was a hard worker and she wanted to do things her own way. No, she was a dropout and a little bitch and didn't want to work. So she moved out on her own, and then they're like, and then she started dating this guy from a like high-end fast food restaurant, and then like the B-roll footage is the Taco Bell and the KFC combined. Please, I'm not upset, trust me. Also, like, leave it up to fucking America, where literally you have a love triangle of Taco Bell, KFC, and the guy that works and I don't even know which one. Like, you know, and then suddenly, like, he's dead, the other girl is dead, the other girl's in jail, and she's like, I just wanted to make my point. Well, you made it, and now your life is screwed up. But you're on Snapped, 15 minutes of fame, or an hour, whatever, plus commercial breaks. I don't even know. But I'm just always laughing at that. I'm like, why are we sugarcoating this? It just makes me laugh, like, so hard. And everybody's like, I'm innocent. You're not. Like, it's always like these, like, little girls. They're like, I don't even know what happened. Like, I just got upset. And I'm like, he's not worth it. Like, your man is not worth the Taco Bell or the KFC ladies. Like, it's not a thing that you should be worried about. It isn't. You know, I was talking to my mom about this because I've been going through a lot of transitions lately in my life, and one of them was moving back to St. Louis and starting school and like all of these things. Like, a lot has been happening. And, you know, my mom is always just like, you know, she used to be like, you should be dating somebody, you should be doing something. Now she's like, ugh, like, I don't know. Like, everybody's kind of like crazy out there. Like, I'm a little scared. Like, you should be doing your thing. So, you know, I had like this bed. And my mom has like, again, like, we never talk about things like this, but it'll just like come out sometimes in instances like these. So before I bought my bed that I have now, I had a full out, like a full-sized air mattress that I was sleeping on for 3 months. So I was like, hey mom, like, you can sleep on the couch or you can sleep on the air mattress with me. She's like, oh my God, I want to spend time with you. And I'm like, well, I'll be sleeping, but whatever. So, you know, we're on the air mattress together, we're sitting there, and it's like 4 o'clock in the morning, because my mom took the Greyhound bus because she hates flying. So she gets in there around 3 o'clock a.m. We're laying in the bed, and I hear this like hysterical laughter, and I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, mom, like, you need to be quiet. Like, I need to get to work at 7. Like, somebody's got to pay this rent. Like, hello? And she's just like, you know, now that you live not at home, if you take somebody up here, you know, you need to get a real bed before you do, because it's really loud on here. Like, your neighbors could hear you. My mom said this to me. Like, I was like, are you kidding me? And she's like, and she's laughing. She thinks it's like so funny. She's like, I guess it must be, you know, there's so much that just happened on the Greyhound. Like, you know, and now I'm just here, like, being delirious. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, again, like, I am the parent. Like, I just don't understand. But, you know, I am happy, though, with transition-wise, that I did move to St. Louis. A lot has happened now that I have my job. And I get it. Job applications this day and age, it's awful. Like, I understand why people, when they're applying and they're, like, applying to 80, 100 jobs, and why they get so frustrating, because no one ever tells you. No one ever calls you back. They just don't, because they just don't care. And it's very annoying to me. Like, I wish when I went to SLU that somebody gave me a crash course and, oh, after you leave, no one is ever going to call you and you're going to heavily start drinking. Because then I would have been seriously prepared for it. And I would not be like I leave for work and I'm like, bye, Gabby, and I take a shot of whiskey and I leave. And I get in the car and I'm like, you know, luckily she's my best friend, so, you know, we've been friends for 10 years, so she doesn't judge me at all. But I'm like, thank God, like, that's her, because otherwise I'd be drinking by myself, A, and B, like, I don't even know what I'd be doing. Like, these jobs ask you the weirdest questions, like, what's your name? Like, hi, it hasn't been working for me to get a job, so I'm thinking about changing it. So, thank you, like, I'm having an identity crisis, or what's your contact information? I'm like, why are you even taking it from me? Because you're never gonna call me. Like, here's my area code, here's my email, but you're never gonna give me a call. Or like, you know, they ask you like, oh, my favorite, can we contact the employers that you work for? Hell no! I don't want you to contact them because I'm trying to leave them. Like, I'm secretly hating my life at this one place. Like, why would I want them to know, like, hey, I fucking hate it here, so I'm trying to move somewhere else? Like, that's crazy to me. Or the best is these phone interviews. where you can't feel like you prove yourself. So before I got the job that I have right now, I had this very weird phone interview with somebody else, and they ask you like the strangest questions, like, do you feel constricted behind a desk? Like, hell yeah, I do, but I'm not going to tell you that. So you have to be like who is ever going to be like, oh, the two things that I love the most in life, ice cream and sitting behind a desk. Like, like no one ever says these things. I just go, whatever puts direct deposit and food on the table, I'm there. Like, I don't understand like why this is so difficult. Or people are like, what's your stress level with dealing with people? Like, hello, I hate everyone. Everyone is terrible. Like, have you dealt with people today? Like, everybody feels like they have to get your opinion. Like, this is how I feel. I didn't even ask you. Do I even know who you are? Like, I'm just like, or like some random person on the street, like, damn, you look fine. I'm like, I mean, I do. Why are you catcalling me? It's just like, it's like one of those things. I'm like, what are you even doing? Or like, my favorite is, what if people don't take no for an answer? Like, I mean, what am I supposed to say to that? Like, I don't understand, like, oh, well, I guess I'll just file a lawsuit, hit them over the head with a frying pan and call it a day. Like, I don't understand, like what, like, that is supposed to be. Like, I know that they're challenging you with these questions, and it's just so funny to me. I'm like, how are you still functioning? Like, you're asking all these questions, like, clearly you do all of this, but it just makes me laugh a little bit, like, and I understand why people are, like, on a high-end stress level. That makes sense to me, because I'm freaking out too. Like, I get that. It's hard. Like, getting a job is hard. I feel like everybody's like, oh, the American dream, you'll get a job right away. Not how it works, people. Sometimes you work 2 part-time jobs at a time, maybe 3, and then finally you get the full-time. And even with the full-time with benefits, sometimes your boss still doesn't appreciate you, and no one tells you the reality of, see, you're even nodding your head. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I know. But like at my job, again, I'm appreciated. But I will say beforehand, on my other jobs, I don't know if I was exactly appreciated the same way. It's a very, like, I get it. It's a very, very hard time to like be in existence. But, I feel like we're all still standing, which is great. Like, you came here tonight, and you're all still standing. So you should give yourself a round of applause. I think that there are a lot of blessings in life. I have been very lucky. I was just speaking, so this is where I'm going to talk about my nephew for a little bit and make it a little emotional, but I understand. So I have, so my niece, technically, who I call her my sister, her name is Crystal. She and her now husband just got married. But when they first started dating, they were pregnant. And, I didn't even know that she was pregnant too, by the way, she's so athletic. But we did some yoga together, and then we went to get waffles. And we were like talking, and she goes, just so you know, like, I have some news for you. And I was like, oh, like, what do you mean? And she's like, I'm 15 weeks pregnant. And it was a surprise, but it was, when you just know that it's a good surprise, and you're like, this is amazing, like, this is great, like, I'm gonna get to be a part of this child's life. And in a weird way, like, Roman has really brought us closer together, which is wonderful, and I couldn't be more grateful for that. And I get to be a part of his life when he grows up, and when he first walks, and when he does all these great and amazing things. And even though he's not mine, I get to relate to that, which is amazing. Moving back to when I did my show last year in March, it was also the weekend of St. Patrick's Day. And Will Bonfiglia, who's in the audience, hey, he and I, and then my other friend Dana, we were celebrating St. Patrick's Day together. And we did the parade, we had dinner at like our kind of a late lunch at one of our friends' houses. And we were like, where should we go? And Will's like, well, let's go to Schlafly, like, Bottle Works, we'll get a beer, we'll just like hang out. And we're all hanging out, and then eventually we're like, well, let's go just take a nap in the car until later before wherever else we go. So Will and I and Dana were walking by, and I see this like group of people, and they're just standing around this baby. From what, and like in my defense, like I couldn't see the baby at all. But of course, like, you're a little tipsy, you're feeling emotions, you're like, oh, this is so cute, like this is so nice. And so like what I try to do with people, even if I don't technically know them, if I leave them with a nice remark, they walk away with that still feeling good. So I'm like, like, I'll see a baby and I do see them, I'm like, oh, your baby's so cute. She's like, oh my God, I feel so annoying. I keep putting him on Facebook. I'm like, whatever, he's cute. Like, there's a lot of shit going on in the world today. Put your fucking baby on Facebook. He just walked, put that shit up. So, I'm like looking at this, and I'm like, oh, they're probably going through the same thing. So like, here I am with like Will and Dana, and I'm like, oh, your baby's so cute. And this bratty little 16-year-old turns around, she goes, it's a fake baby. Like, not even real life. Like, literally, and Will's like, oh my God, we have to leave. Somebody just, like, you just complimented a fake baby. And I just was like, and at first I'm just like, oh, I couldn't see. I was just trying, but like, you know, when you start talking a lot and like, you just dig yourself into the and Will's like, stop. And Dana's like, give me the keys. We're getting in the car. You know, like, everything's good. And her mom, like mother, like daughter, she goes, it's a project for this like blah 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 high school, which I'm not gonna say, but it's like a higher end high school. Like, I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. And I'm just like, okay, well that's interesting. And you know, here I am embarrassed because like I, you know, said, you know, congratulations to a fake baby. But now that I think about this in hindsight, now that I'm sober, is that I'm just like, you know what? In reality, like, this is our future, is that a 16-year-old and her mom are bringing a fake baby to Schlafly Bottle Works to the parent and like teach that, oh, this is appropriate. Like, how are you still functioning? That's the problem. Thank you very much, guys. Have a good night.